I figured that this whole bridge building thing was going to be a team-based thing, but apparently they're going to be all be doing it individually, which still makes sense. I figured it'd be like, oh, well, being part of a team is an aspect of being a builder, and they were probably going to combine their forces. So it's like some of them could do the building and some of them could do the protecting. But I guess it makes sense still if they're all still being judged individually on this, that they wouldn't have that kind of setup. Maybe that would be something for like more of a promotion, like if there was some form of like oh, we want to put you up to like whatever the higher rank of the building licenses are. Like, still don't know all of them. It's still really new that we got everything with build on, but I'm pretty interested to see just generally. Tonkaichi is the one that I have like big questions on because we know how he is, and we have information on now why he can't. Like, he's not a very good builder is because that the materials that he uses can't handle his level of vigor. But that means that right now, until we figure out like how he's gonna learn how to like analyze equipment and materials so he knows he's using the right stuff, or he has control over his vigor enough that he's not just destroying stuff. His is going to be the really intriguing one, just because like you know who his character is, and it's like the question is, okay, well, what is he going to do to get past this? It's just the general question. The other characters, I'd say, are overall more interesting in this regard, because it's like, okay, they're going to be able to get across, but like, how's their methods? And we saw one of them with Eliki in this chapter, which I thought was actually really cool. And then more explanation on how vigor works. And again, the world building and the setup that Shimabukuro does is one of my favorite things about the way he writes. And in this this chapter, we have information on essentially like ways that people use vigor. There's like the vigor tools where they're made to kind of like absorb your vigor and then do whatever their skill is, as it goes. I like some of the weapons too, or I guess tools in this regard. Like, you have like this cool dragon handle saw. You have this tape measure with like a snake head on it. These cool mallets and hammers. And I really like the weird tool design too. On top of that, it's one of those things also when you get into like series, and not just like tools. I like it whenever they have unique weapons or items. Like, whenever a character is like, oh, he's a swordsman, and they have like a unique looking sword. It's not just like another katana or a long sword or something. It's the author went out of their way to just have that extra design onto it. But after that, they're like, they're gonna convey also through direct touch. You're pretty much putting your vigor into things like directly. And they said that like one thing I was surprised about is that I guess like your vigor will like crystallize. And I'm wondering like how exactly that plays out like entirely. Like, they show like a guy holding up 5 tons on the end of like a box cutter because he's using his vigor to crystallize on it. I'm guessing that it's just like, say you had a stick, and it's like the stick obviously would break under 5 tons, but it's like if you put like strong enough vigor on it, the stick is fine. And probably how like they managed to create like the crazier houses, like and just constructs in general. It's like the idea is just like the stronger you are, the greater things you can build just by this process, or tools that you can use just by this process, which is pretty cool. I thought that was pretty neat. And then they show that there's a way of launching it, of just like shooting your vigor, which looks that went like when they describe it, it's again, it's a very easy step of understanding. You have just kind of putting it in, you're physically creating it, and then like this guy's like shooting masses of vigor at like a building, I'm guessing to maybe to patch it up, or to generally just to do something to strengthen it. I thought that was really cool. The shooting it aspect is like the really weird one for me, just the way that it was generally implemented in the panel. But I'm guessing like when we see it out and about, it'll probably make more sense. Like, say you're a strong distance from somebody, you could probably just maybe like probably not just outright shoot their strength in it. Maybe you could like do like a finger gun thing and point like make like a crystallization of your vigor like a bullet or something. Very, very simple in idea. It's just one of those ones that's going to be really weird to see implemented, because it's not just like an attack thing. Like, if this was something like Dragon Ball and they're going over a key and stuff, it's like, and then it's like, oh well, shooting key, and then just the generic energy blast and stuff that's very easy to understand. But it's like the fact that it's not just kind of like a strength power level kind of thing, but it also has to do with like the construction and how they empower materials and tools, is one of the ways that it's an extra level of odd, but it's going to be really cool to see implemented, like I said. But now they're talking about how like the Valley Sticks, it's really big, And where they start building depends on them, because it's a valley. There's different areas where like it's wider, and some areas where it's more narrow. And I'm guessing that the more narrow areas is going to be where more dangerous creatures are. This is just my assumption. Because it would make sense, like, if you were, like, if you just saw this and you're, like, the general idea would be like, oh, go over the shortest path, the easiest path. Predators would probably see, like, either the logic in that and just, like, where people are mostly going, or just where people would go frequently enough that they might figure it out. And I do see some monsters at the end of this that I am pretty hyped in the next chapter to see. Just from the character that's involved. I like Eliki so far. I like that he's like this cool ninja builder. And then the big spiders are going to be really spooky. But Smith mentions that like the time limit is like a week. I was so surprised at that and like how it's going to be shown. But I'm hoping that it's going to be one of those ones where it's kind of like the first test where it would be like a week to anybody just at level to do this, whereas like these characters can probably do it way easier and quicker. Like Eliki, he seems to just be fine with it. Like he's just gonna get through it. And there are monsters and stuff getting away, but I doubt they're gonna really be a threat to him. Like these just look like strong monsters that are gonna just give a display, but probably not gonna be like really that threatening to him. But while they're doing their thing, they're kind of like, we just got an explanation, obviously, of how, like, the vigor works and stuff, and that goes right into display with Eliki. And again, that was a really cool thing to do on top of that, just the general kind of, yeah, here it is, okay, we're going to show you. It's not just kind of leave it, and then we'll get back to it eventually. There was also stuff with a lot of the other characters in this chapter, too, like the short guy, I don't remember his name, but he wants to get in, like, the idol group with the builders. I don't think that's going to happen. It looks like they're mostly pretty boys and stuff, and this guy's like a short dude with a mullet and a mohawk, and he looks a little silly, and he's got a unibrow. Like, he does not look like he's gonna make it in there. And there was just like a fun interaction between him and Bar's trying to tell him, like, listen, I don't mean to break this to you, but you're probably not gonna make it in there. But also, on top of that, when he goes to talk to him, he notices, like, right afterwards that his hand, he thought, like, his, like, he's like, oh, my hand was broken. So that's just extra hype on, like, when he punched Tonkatsu. And both his strength, when he was just putting his force into it, and obviously Tonkatsu's durability. But also it's hype in that, the healer chick that's there. Because he says that, like, he didn't even let her get near him. So she managed to heal him without contact. And I just noticed that she also has a number on her chest, on her rope. Assuming that's a chick. I don't know. Maybe it's a dude. Either way. This character, I didn't notice. I thought this was like gonna be a proctor or like somebody that's more towards like a licensed or a more experienced person that's just spectating. But I guess this is a person in. So there's hype on that character too, and that's some real healer hype. He healed this guy either so fast he didn't even notice or without touching him. That's impressive. Like outright, that's impressive. And on top of that, like this character has to be strong enough to at least knock out the nail moles. So being here, clearly it's not just like, oh, healer. It's like a healer that is strong, right? Outright. But, again, more on like the designs that I really like about Shimabukuro. I really like his weird ideas. Like, there's a bunch of balloons, like, it looks like hot air balloons, but they're not just carrying, it's not like they're carrying baskets. They're carrying, like, small, like, cities. They've all got, like, all these skyscrapers and stuff and buildings, and there's, like, these large stadium areas and bleachers that people can watch the participants in, because this is going to take a week. So they're probably going to, like, I imagine a lot of the big people are just going to kind of watch it from their hotel rooms and, like, see it on TV and kind of just lounge and hang out, whereas the other people are just going to chill and just watch their general construction. But after that point, like, that's when we find out about this other dude. We got his name last chapter. He's the one that was wearing the helmet, Koni Chika. And they mentioned that he brings up he's from a place called Build Dump, and it's essentially just this giant toxic wasteland, and it's covered with garbage and stuff, and he wants to become a Build-On, like, member, and eventually become a master builder, so he can pretty much take all that scrap and everything there and fix it into, like, make his hometown a nice place. He says that he wants to turn, like, his country of garbage into a paradise. I actually really like that. I think that's a really, really strong character goal right off the bat. Like, it explains why he's like the way he is explains why he's gonna end up being just kind of strong as like a builder and stuff, just because like if he survived there, he's got to be very capable. And on top of that, his goals in this are very selfless. He wants to do this to help everybody there and to create like a better, just a better place to live. And I think that's already, again, solid character. And on top of like, you have like Eliki, who's like a very cool character. I like that he's got that reverse Sasuke and Kurapika clan thing where he doesn't give a shit if you make fun of his clan, just don't make fun of him. He's more about himself. I thought that was just really cool because usually, like the Bar even mentioned up, it's usually the opposite when it comes to characters like that. You know, they have high value in their clans, and just that small tweak automatically made it very interesting. And then you have, like I said, like Koni. It's hard with some of these characters' names because usually there's not as many like big Japanese names when it comes to like Shimabukuro series, and he's kind of like those ones, kind of like that, like Mishima and Oden stuff, where it's like characters can have any name. You can have a guy with like the most traditional far back feudal Japan name, and then a guy next to him is named Jerry or Kan, or a character's named Cork. But sometimes when it's like the long Japanese names, it takes me longer to kind of remember them, just because they don't stand out as much as like if it's like Cork's name was easy to remember. Tonkachi's name was a lot easier to remember though, but that's because like he's the main character, and like I just kept calling him Tonk for a little bit. But also Ton, I just like the T-O-N in there, 2,000 pounds, heavy number. But Koni Chika, he's very interesting already too. I like the character so far. And Bar, I'm curious to know what Bar's larger value is going to be, because he seems pretty cool. I like his design, and he seems to me like he's obviously in Tonkachi's similar line of just like the strong, outright demolition characters, but obviously not being as powerful. And he gave like he's been giving like a lot of really good insight on the things around him. Like obviously noticing stuff about Tonkachi, noticing stuff about this healer person. But near the end of the chapter, we see Eliki pretty much just walk up, and he ends up using his vigor, like crystallizing it over a throwing star, making it stronger, and chucks it. And throws it all the way over with like a wire on it. And he mentions like it takes a moment until it gets there. It ends up like stabbing into the side of the end of the cliff. And again, he's able to throw it super far. It's able to make the distance. It's going to hold, and everything about it in terms of its strength because of the vigor. Like, we got an explanation of how the powers work, so this makes complete sense. And it's not just like, because when I was first reading, I was like, oh, what if somebody just wanted to like break the wire, or like what if it falls out? But because we know how vigor works now, it's gonna hold. And he just like, there's like mentions that the distance is 3.5 kilometers, and that's like, I'm trying to remember kilometers to miles off the time. I think that's like what, like 3 miles, or not like 3 miles, like 2 miles or something. Because I think like a mile, I think 1.5 kilometers is like a mile. So that's like a little over 2 miles. I'd probably just kind of round it at like 2 miles or something, a little, obviously like a little chunk over. But again, the fact he threw it that far, and he's just gonna walk there. They're talking about like what he's gonna do with his bridge, and he's just like, no, I'm done. And he just like plants the wire down and just walks across. He does some sick ninja moves and just strolls right on over. And again, very impressive, very cool right off the bat. Ninja design, very neat. I like that he's a ninja builder. I think that's just really cool outright. And then there's this other guy. I can't remember his name either. The one with like the weird drapery hair. I feel like this is not what he actually looks like, because he looks really creepy. But I really like the hair design. I've mentioned that before. I like the weird multicolored kind of like stripping hair. I think it looks neat. And then like also it's got like the coils, like the curls, like in the front. This is like a cool looking character, but very creepy on top of it. He's like mentioning how for him construction is might and authority and a symbol of power. So I'm guessing he's going to be more of like strong power fighter compared to these other, like a lot of the newer people. And probably I feel like it's safe to assume this is going to be like the main bad guy, or at least antagonist for this portion of the story, and who Tonkachi is going to have to fight before the end of this. Because I assume that there's going to be a fighting tournament aspect to this at some point. Like, we got the first part. They said there's 3 parts. Like, if after the bridge building, like, maybe we get a fight and we can see Tonkachi fight this guy, I would really love to see that. Or if they're going to, like, fight some powerful monsters. I want to see some action, like I mentioned before. Like, I really want to see some cool moves. I love the world building. I love the weird, wacky designs and the art style that Shimabukuro does, but I really do want to get to some action. Just because I want to see what these characters can do. I want to see some of the more action-y side of Shimabukuro's style. And I'm fine with waiting, but I know there's not a lot of people that probably are as patient when it comes to early parts of the series. Like, I'm impatient in general, but like when it comes to like the beginnings of series, that's like one of the only times I can kind of be a little patient. And it looks like we're gonna get some action next chapter, because when Eliki's just going out there, there's these big, like these Preda spiders, big spooky looking creatures, like with human heads, and they've got all these eyes and stuff. They got like a Squidward nose. But he's gonna be going up against them, and people bring up like, oh, you know, they're Preda spiders. He's wandered into one of their nests, and he doesn't look worried at all. So I'm guessing we're gonna see some sick ninja moves from him next chapter, and just start bodying these spiders, probably cutting up their webs and kind of throwing them back and stuff. Because just from that first display, like, his vigor is clearly very strong, his technique's very strong, that he just threw it, like, casually 3.5 kilometers. And he's just like, all right, I'm going to walk across. Perfect balance. No problem at all. So he's definitely very strong. We know, obviously, like, the people in this that are, that were, like, that kind of showed up to the licensing test that people had sights on. And also, like, the fact these things, like, it looks like they all have stingers in their mouth. I wonder if those are just spikes, or if they're all stingers or something, if they're all fangs. And obviously this is not a normal spider, so these things are going to be, you know, a lot extra. But, like I said, like, he's also from, like, a special clan, so he's got to be really powerful. I would at least imagine, compared to, like, the other newer people. So he's probably going to body these things and then, you know, just move on. And he's the first one getting across, so the hype on him. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter. I thought this was pretty good. I like the power explanation and the fact that we got, like, insight into a couple characters. Again, I really like the hot air balloon, like, skyscraper holding places. Like, I think those are really cool. They call them balloon hotels. And then at the end, I think it was just really cool to see both the little bit of moment of that creepy dude. And again, I'm guessing he's gonna kind of be like the, kind of like the, I almost said Kurapika, but, Hisoka of this arc kind of thing. He's gonna be like the surprise bad guy that kind of pops up and kind of maybe like messes with some things. And then monsters, next chapter. I can't wait to see like how they, like how Eliki goes about fighting them. He's definitely like one of those characters I feel like if you wanted to get people to start something, then you're gonna show like panels of him doing cool stuff, because there's always got to be one of those characters early on that's just really cool that draw people's attention, and I think that's gonna be him. Because again, ninja builder, like he's just cool in general. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.